there, everybody. It's been a little bit. Have a little confession to make. Haven't really been playing any video games at all, actually. I've basically just been watching anime, and it's been the first time that I've actually been into anime in like 8 years. So there's been a lot to catch up on. But I recently watched a show with these two idiots, as you know from the Pointy Stick podcast, Mezzerschmidt and Domsmash. They happen to be my roommates. We've been watching a show called Golden Kamuy. Now, before we get into that a little bit, let's just talk a little bit about our anime background. So I want to start off with Mez. You want to talk a little bit about how long you've been watching anime, what your favorite genres are, etc.?
Man, I've been watching anime probably since like middle of high school, so it's got to be at least 15 years by this point. Um, I like a little bit of everything, to be honest. I try to sample from plenty different genres and just I'd say I started out with shonen. I like seinen a lot more now, obviously. Uh, but I'll watch sports animes, I'll watch slice of life, I'll watch whatever. As long as it's good, I'm down.
All right. And Dom Smash, you.
So I saw my first anime when I was like 12 or 13, but I mostly just watched like anime movies when I was
Mm,
younger.
Okay.
Sort of Ghibli.
mm,
Akira was the first anime movie I ever watched. Um, and I didn't really get into anime shows until college. So like 18, 20 years old is when I really started watching actual shows with more than like 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I'm like Joe or Messerschmidt. Um, I kind of watch a little bit of everything, but I'm definitely less experienced on the whole in the anime sphere.
Okay. And yeah, me, Sheepin. I've been watching anime off and on since like 2012, I'd say. Definitely more into shonens and seinens, especially now that we're all old in our 30s and about to die. Yeah, they're kind of made for us. It's a shocker that we like them more now and connect with them more.
Your back hurts right now. You probably prefer seeing
Yeah, I'd say
yeah,
that's
that makes
accurate.
sense.
it.
Well, all right. Now that we've kind of established that groundwork, let's just get right into it. We're gonna shoot the shit for the next half hour or so, just talking about Golden Kamuy because I think this is one that kind of took us by surprise a little bit.
Hmm. I honestly I read a little bit of it
Mm,
before we started watching, but even with the prior knowledge of the manga, I was pretty taken away by the anime adaptation. I gotta say.
I'm very much right there with you. I mean, I haven't read any manga. I don't really read manga, but this is a show that, after one season, has the potential of being a favorite of mine. So I guess we should start with the premise of the
Right.
show. So the premise of the show, it takes place in Hokkaido in northern Japan after the Russo-Japanese War, and you follow the main character Sugimoto, who has the nickname Immortal because he refused to die during the war. You see a little bit of a flashback of his, and then it has time skip where it's present day for in terms of the anime, and he basically gets on a journey to find this lost treasure. And there's hints of different literary works. I know I've said multiple times. It reminds me a little bit of the setting. Reminds me a little bit of like Jack London, the
Mm-hmm.
whole Yukon gold rush. Only it takes place in Japan, right? And then there's a huge emphasis on the Ainu culture, which is similar to all of us in North America, the Inuits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it gives me a little bit of a Dances with Wolves vibes as well. And the story just follows this main character as he is then introduced to a young Ainu girl who then slowly teaches him about, like I said, Ainu culture, Ainu survival techniques, hunting, blah, 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 blah. This is particularly interesting to me because I'm super into historical anything, right? Like, historical dramas are the shit. I love Master and Commander. I love, like I said, Dances with Wolves. Uh, there's even a little bit of Last Samurai thrown in here as well.
Yeah.
And I'm for it. I want to get your guys' opinions on just the genre as well. So I guess we'll start with Messerschmidt.
For me, it did remind me of some stories that I read when I was a lot younger too, like Where the Red Fern
Mm.
Grows, or almost even like Swiss Family Robinson, only because like they used a lot of survival techniques as well. Like the story's not similar at all, but like just being out in the wilderness, learning to fend for yourself, learning about that kind of uh, dynamic was an interesting aspect to the show and reminded me of that. In a lot of other ways, like I'm really big into sci-fi, and one of the things I like most about sci-fi is when a character encounters like an alien culture and tries to understand the similarities and differences. And this show, not being sci-fi, but it still has that element to
Mm.
it too, which I quite enjoy. Um, and yeah, I mean that as far as it drawing inspiration, like that's mostly where it connects with what I know, other than where it also intersects with other parts of Japanese culture. Um, but like it's a wonderful blend of things. Like it's very much story based, uh, but like it has enough there where the world feels alive, you know.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's probably because it draws heavily from real life uh, Ainu culture, just like things that actually happened after the Russo-Japanese War. Like obviously the events that are unfolding didn't happen, but like it
Right.
has that going for it. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that a lot. Uh, Dom or Dom Smash. I guess you're kind of. I know this might seem a little bit of an awkward uh, topic, but it's more like our personal inspiration and why we were kind of drawn to the story and drawn to the setting and all that. So
Mm.
if you could kind of go into that a little bit yourself.
I mean, my story is similar to you, where I'm kind of the perfect viewer for this show, where I like history and culture, I like anime. I'm in that Venn diagram right there in the middle.
Okay, fair enough.
Um, so I think it's interesting because I feel like there's a good amount of anime viewers who enjoy sort of Sengoku period, samurai, ninjas, but I don't know if there's like as big of a contingent of people who'd be interested in this time period itself.
Mm.
Um, but while both of those things were a draw for me, I feel like it's a good enough show that even if you're not really a history buff, even if the idea of learning more about the Ainu culture isn't something that appeals to you, that this show can draw you into those things and get you interested
Mm.
because it's just an interesting enough show, a well made enough show that it can do those things for you. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, what my background is with it. Sort of my interests align with this show pretty perfectly.
Okay. I kind of wanted to transition into, because it obviously can get you interested in these different aspects like the culture, but that's not all it is, right? It's not
No,
just about a show talking about the culture of the Ainu people. It's not just a cooking show. Like, yeah, it has those in it.
Mm.
It's not just a um, a gold rush show where you just go in looking for the gold. It's, pirate kind of thing. But there are some action set pieces too. And I think this is maybe where some of the disconnect is, because we have looked up some reviews online about people who were potentially disappointed with the show because they were expecting more of a battler,
Mm-hmm.
even though this does have some of that. And I think what it does have is really entertaining. It's pretty brutal as well. It's
Yeah.
it's so much more, right? But I did want to talk about the the animation and like the gunplay and just the strategy. I know there are a couple episodes where there's almost a little bit of a gun duel going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be really interesting to talk about, just because even though it's not a battler, what's there is pretty high quality.
Yeah. Um.
Dom?
I mean, there. Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I one thing I love about the action of this show is that it isn't concerned with anime tropes in battles. It
Mm.
is portraying pretty realistic combat, and realistic combat is brief, brutal, and fast,
Right.
short. I mean, other than standoffs, like you were mentioning with that sort of gun duel, sort of snipers trying to find each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like the hand-to-hand combat, you're not seeing people going at it for 15, 20 minutes or like multiple episodes. Like, you get in there, somebody is horribly wounded within seconds, and it's over fast, like real combat would be.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of any sort of great physical struggles that last longer than that are rare, just like they would be rare in real life when deadly weapons are involved.
Yeah.
Um, and they make sure that you know that these are deadly weapons that can cause very real harm to people. Um, the combat is brutal and can be hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
Just the damage that are done to people. That is.
Yeah, it definitely can be. There are. I'm not very squeamish, but there definitely are scenes where I'm just like, oh, fuck.
Did they have to have that
Yeah.
sort of thing?
Mez, you were gonna say something as well.
It's like, so no one feels safe. So like, strangely, it has like that early Game of Thrones kind of feel to it, where like, you know, anything could happen, even though the main character is called immortal. Like, does that really make him safe? Well, you know, it doesn't feel that way, anyways. And I also quite enjoy some of like the smaller details that they put into the battles. Like, there's a certain point at which a sniper puts like snow in his mouth to so it doesn't
Mm.
expose his breathing, which is a real thing that like happened back then. And probably even to some extent might happen today. But like, that's just like a real technique that they incorporated into a battle. There's like battles that don't end with a very anime shonen conclusion, like the good guy defeats the bad guy and bad. Like, there's a point at which like both the good guy and the bad guy basically get into a life-threatening situation and have a human moment, basically have to put differences aside in order to survive.
Yeah, I know which one. That happens really early, right? The
Yeah.
into the river.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like, you know,
Light spoilers.
yeah, but like, nature is brutal. Like, this show doesn't pass up on any sort of opportunity to like use its environment, the motivations of its characters. Like, yeah, there's a lot there, honestly.
It's funny you mentioned characters. That's actually the next talking point I wanted to get to. Was
Yeah.
so we can slingshot right off there. Talking about these characters. I know I love the two main characters, both Sugimoto and Asherpa. Their chemistry is wonderful. Sugimoto is a badass. I kind of miss badass protagonists, especially in a lot of shonen anime. They're usually not like super badass. They're just,
At least not at the beginning, right?
yeah. Um, I appreciate that he's like a grizzled war veteran, like adult with all these scars and a history to him. Um, and Asherpa is, I mean, she's hilarious. Like, not only is she,
Her reaction faces.
yeah, they're amazing, and
Oh my god.
she's also a badass. Like, she knows her shit when she's hunting. She's not just this useless little girl tagging along. Like, she absolutely pulls her weight. And the villains are super intimidating. There's more than one too. Like, there's a bunch of different factions and each have their own reasons, and I absolutely love that.
And even like some of the allies are not just pure good aligned characters. Like, you know, they have they have their own motivations, and if a different faction is going to give them what they want, they might flip on you, sort of thing. Like, right now we see them at the end of season
These are
one.
very fluid.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you seem to be in a stable kind of position for the main cast and everything, but like I think it could swap at pretty much any point, honestly.
As far as bad guys, there are some bad guys that are insane, but not in
Yeah.
like a traditional anime mustache twirling insane kind of way, like a
Mhm.
legitimately dangerous and scary, terrifying insane
Yeah.
that makes like is believable on a human level, but also just like holy crap,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this person is terrifying.
There are
Yeah.
also some bad guys that are like basically sympathetic almost, you
Yeah,
know, like or at the very least you definitely understand where they're coming from
and
and
sometimes we're
like
describing the same character,
yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true.
which I think is done very well.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not just that. So the villains are obviously brutal and scary and intimidating, but even the main cast, like, sure, Sugimoto is a good person, but he does bad things.
Yes.
Very bad thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of killing, and I mean, if you're squeamish, like, there's literal skinning,
Careful.
not just of animals, like survivalist kind of skinning, but the map, so to speak, of the treasure is tattooed on people's bodies, and there are scenes where he will skin the map off them, and they don't show it in super deep detail or anything, so I, it's not the worst thing, but it's just that thought of like, oh, I'm
Yeah. They're
cutting
not
off human skin.
they're not shoving it in your face, but it's there, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember, I think it's even episode 1 where
Mhm.
Sugimoto's talking to Sherpa, and he says that I'm not a murderer, but I'm gonna kill if they're trying to kill me, or something along
Yep.
those lines.
Yep.
And that's that makes for an interesting protagonist, because he's willing to do terrible things and get his hands dirty for the sake of the goal,
Mhm.
which, is incidentally a thing of cash. Uh, it's kind of hard to know exactly how much because of the dated yen and sen and kan, right? So it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
tell, but it's implied that it's like a country defining's worth of
Yeah.
gold, which
A
is
lot.
insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you're talking about that kind of gold and that kind of, I guess, power that comes along with it, it makes sense that you have these insane villains who want to start their own country and revolt against Japan, or
Mhm.
in Sugimoto's case, his motivation is probably the lesser of all of them.
Yeah, I mean his is overall, at least for the show, is pretty pure.
Yeah,
Like he owes a debt that he needs money for, and he also wants to help the Ainu, like essentially recover what was lost to them. But
well then
like other than that,
that's also his war buddy, right? In the
yeah,
first,
that's what I.
okay,
Yeah, that's the. Yeah,
okay,
that's his original motivation. But like his motivation is shaped by the people he interacts with too,
right.
which is also very believable.
Yeah, that's true. He seems to kind of, between episodes, almost change exactly what he's looking for. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when he first finds out about the gold, it's like, yeah, I want all this. But then once he meets a Sherpa, it's more, hey, just let me have what I need to cover my thing, and this is your people's gold anyway. You should have it. It should be
Yeah,
yours. Um, yeah, it's all really interesting. It sounds like it's also really, really bleak all the time.
it's not.
It's not. There is actually some really funny parts to this show.
Yeah,
Um,
And some very cozy moments to the show too.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Anytime they're in one of the makeshift tents and cooking up a meal and sharing a meal together, I mean, I think we talked about it after one of the episodes, how so many so much media revolves around conversations around food, right? It's just such a human thing, sharing a meal with somebody and that kind of bonding experience. I know I feel it every time we cook a meal together. That just the three of us, we sit down and watch something and we eat together, right? Like that's a cool experience. I enjoy that experience with you guys, and I enjoy seeing it in shows as well. Which is it's so funny that some of those negative reviews that Dom that you've read are just like, oh, it's all about eating and it's all hita. That's just boring. It's like, what do you mean?
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
It's so interesting.
I also think. Oh, sorry. You go.
No, it takes its time to let you get to know the characters. You know, like a lot of media nowadays has a real problem with pacing, and it's just like this one's not go 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 all the time. There's definitely moments of that, but like in a typical story, in a typical real life scenario, you're gonna have moments of downtime.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I don't know. It just feels more alive that way.
I also think you need, with a show that hits you with such intense action, intense brutality, those humanizing moments, those moments where you catch your breath and sort of get to know these people, so that when they're placed in horrific danger, you care about them.
Yeah.
Right.
When they're hurt horribly, you care about that. You feel it because you saw them when they were laughing to them. You know.
Yeah, they feel more like a part of the squad. I mean, the little things like a Sherpa thinking miso is poop and refusing to eat it. And then once she finally tries it, then she like sneakily tries to reverse psychology Sugimoto into putting the poop in the soup.
Oh my God.
It's hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah. it's great. That it's so silly.
Her faces.
Oh yeah, her faces are great. And it's even surprising too. I mean, in one of the later episodes, the main cast of characters meets up with an enemy, quote unquote, and it's not what you expect. Like there is a little bit more depth to it, and it's played for laughs a little bit. I mean, how we're never going to be able to forget Chinpo Sensei, ever.
Oh my God!
That shit was hilarious.
I can't believe it.
It
Yeah,
was so funny. I guess
such a dangerous, insane man, but they saw only that side of him. And
yeah.
And
like they were friends. At least right then, they were friends. Like I assume.
It's not gonna
bad's
last.
gonna happen. No,
There's no way.
You don't know, you know.
Yeah. It's just I love the character interactions so much. I love even some of the side characters like the Tanigaki, right, when he was bonding with the hunter who was not really a good person. Had a murder boner for hunting.
Yep.
Okay, I guess little sidebar.
For killing, let's be real.
There's a lot of murder boners. Like,
yeah.
Like it's mentioned a decent amount. Like it's kind of
intense.
This show has adult themes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But getting back to the hunter, Tanigaki and him don't even really get along that much, but he still sees something in him to bond with. And I think we're going to get to the next topic here, which is just general writing, right? And character writing. And I think, Joe, you were the one, or Mezzerschmidt, you were the one who mentioned how things are set up episodes in advance. And I think this plays really well with the Tanigaki and the hunter. And I'll let you take the floor because it was your idea.
Well, I think what I was saying was like the world feels semi-permanent. Like it's not just that Sugimoto goes up against an obstacle, knocks it down, and then that's never revisited. Essentially, like there was a whole thing with Tanigaki and the what's his name, the other hunter, right?
Yeah, I don't remember
where
what
like
his name is.
he's the bear hunter, and he only ever takes enough ammo for one shot to like essentially make sure to himself that he doesn't miss. Like he places that stress upon himself, and then like stuff happens. Tanigaki eventually ends up with that gun, and it was like they had that bond, and it's like he's also eventually placed into the position where like he basically has one shot to work with, sort of thing. So it's just like parallels that persist through the world. There's like, I mean, even with oh god, what's the name of the silly character, the escape artist? Like,
Oh, right. What is his name?
The Scat King.
Yeah,
it's
Scat,
sketching.
as Sherpa calls him, Scat King.
It's like even him, like his stuff is set up in episode what 2 or 3, but like you still see him use some of the same techniques later on in the show.
Hmm.
Like it's just
They don't forget about it like a convenient forgetting of mind reading in another show we were
yes,
talking about.
there's not just like a Chekhov's gun that gets introduced, is used once, and then is thrown away. It's like these characters have certain things that they're good at, and like that is a persistent thing. You know, uh, I like that kind of um, attention to detail in a lot of stories that I read or watch.
Dom, did you have anything to add to that?
I think he said it well.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, we're getting to 26 minutes. I think we've talked a decent amount about it. We don't want to get into spoilers because we want you to watch this shit. Like it's amazing. I guess if I had to pick out a negative, it would have to be the CG bears, and that's literally the only negative I have, is that the CG bears look kind of weird. Um, Supposedly, the animators of the show wanted the CG bears to resemble more of like a demon, and so they did just those in a different art style. I understand that. I get it. I still don't really like it. It just doesn't look that good.
I hope they at least improve the models. Good.
I agree. I hope too. I mean, we have season 2 and 3 that we're still going to watch. Season 4 comes out this winter. As far as I know, the reviews for seasons 2 and 3 just get better and better. So I'm excited for that. Hopefully the Bears improve. But if
I kind of gotta wonder how many more bears they're gonna bring into the show, though.
That's
never know.
Yeah,
that's true. But
yeah,
if the only thing that's bad is like 3 scenes with a CG bear, it means the show's pretty freaking good.
There is also, I think, probably worth mentioning a trigger warning for those who are affected by unusually brutal violence in an anime, and also those who are squeamish about eating interesting parts of animals.
Yeah, it's probably not your show if you're a vegan.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They eat everything. I mean, like, if you're a culture that lives out in the wilderness, you're gonna eat it.
Yeah, again, keep in mind that the Ainu live in northern Hokkaido, which is just like a frozen wasteland. I mean, think of Alaska, right? You eat what you can get. You need to survive. I mean, a lot of the show is hunting for survival, and there's a lot of survival techniques that get brought up. So, yeah, even I understand being squeamish. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But just know that there is a reason for it. It's not just for shock value.
I found it fascinating, but it might bother some people.
Yeah. Well, I guess final verdict from season 1, Mezzerschmidt.
I'd say probably like a 9 out of 10, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, I almost even want to give it a perfect, but like, yeah, I think the CG could have been improved upon, and I mean, it's pretty much as close to perfect as you can get, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Domsmash, final thoughts?
Like I said, it's in my Venn diagram. I love it. I'd probably give it a 9 as well. Like I said, with like Joe said, basically the only nitpick I have for me personally is the CG bears.
Yeah.
So it's slam dunk for me.
There are a lot of boners too.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's
yeah,
maybe too many boners.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an attraction between two characters that are a little bit distant in age for my liking, but
yeah,
it's time period thing.
They don't really play that like that.
Again, it doesn't like it bothers me more in concept than it does in practice.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 9 out of 10. It's great.
Yep. I also give it a 9 out of 10. It would have been a 10 out of 10 if the CG bears were better. I think it is. I'm designating it a Sheepin instant classic. It,
Trademarked.
it, it has the potential with seasons 2, 3, and 4. I mean, I can't wait to watch more, but it has the potential to become my favorite show of all time. I mean, it really does. It was. I haven't been blown away by a premise like this and a show like this in a very very long time. Probably not since Steins Gate, and I think I might by the end of it like this more than Steins Gate. But yeah, it was great. I have no more complaints. Watch the show. I don't want to spoil anything for you. Just go watch it. Even if you think you might be kind of squeamish about it, I'd still give it a try. And if you can't get through it, I understand. I forgive you.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get through episode 1, you're gonna have problems.
Yeah,
but
you'll know immediately.
It front loads it.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Well, guys, thanks for tuning in for this half hour. Like I said, I've just been in an anime mood, and I wanted to talk about one with you guys. If you want to see more anime content, please comment. Let me know. I'm always down to do it. If you like hearing more from Dom and Mez, I want to have them on more too. Kind of get to know our friend group, our friend circle. But yeah, last thing, please like and subscribe. It really does help me out. And I will see you again in a couple weeks. SuperSheepin's signing off with Mezzerschmidt and Domsmash. Peace.
Have a good one.